By the time I was 20, that's the first year like I made six figures in the business.
Let's talk a little bit about this real estate investment club. What is it all about?
Dude, this isn't about just spending a bunch of money on education. It's actually about people and the relationships and the community.
I'm like doing a whole 1,700 square foot house and I'm doing it for like 35 grand.
Oh my. Wholesalers, they seem to kind of inflate the ARV
Yeah.
and then underestimate the rehab.
Focus on breaking that routine in terms of like, I work 8 to 5, I get home, you're gonna have to work again.
Right.
Or I got my kids, I
Yeah.
gotta go to soccer practice, I gotta
Yeah.
yada, yada,
Yeah.
yada.
There's just seasons in life. And there's specific seasons where you have to go a little harder.
I got Christian Rios here, straight from Menifee, big real estate agent out there, also an investor. He's, working on a lot of projects out there. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is really cool.
I'm in the real estate and the real estate of mine.
Welcome everybody. Welcome back to the show. This is episode, I believe is number 21. So episode number 21. Today I got a guest with us today. His name is, I got Christian Rios here, straight from Menifee.
Yep.
A big real estate agent out there. Also an investor. He's, working on a lot of projects out there. Today, guys, we're going to talk to you about some of the projects that you're working on, Christian. A little bit of your real estate background. Obviously, how you got into real estate and
For sure.
how you got to be, the man you are today.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, man, anyway, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This
is really cool.
Yeah, no, of course. So, we'll get right into it. We'll talk a little bit about, your real estate background. I know we were just chatting kind of before how you pretty much didn't have anything else going and you got straight into real estate. But if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, like how did you get started into real estate? I know you got started at a really young age.
For sure. So a little bit of my story, I grew up in San Diego and then my parents moved to the Temecula area when everyone kind of moved to that area in the early 2000s, right? Like people were just more affordable. The city was growing. So parents moved over there and kind of fast forward, they were doing great, bought a couple properties, and then the market crashes in 2008, 2009.
Right.
And I was in high school at the time, and I remember being like, what the heck is going on? I don't really understand why every other house says for sale and short sale on top and the market's crashing. My parents lose like half of their equity. Yeah. So I was like, how can I kind of help them? How can I educate myself so maybe this doesn't happen to me in the future? Mm-hmm. So funny story, I just stumbled across Rich Dad Poor Dad. I don't know, you've read Rich Dad? Okay.
Of course.
I think it's a good gateway drug to entrepreneurship and real estate investing for any of your listeners that maybe haven't read it. It's such a good book. It's such a good tool. Before that book, my cousin was like a chiropractor, a doctor, and I was like, hey, maybe I'll do that. Yeah. But after that book, I was like, holy crap, I could be wealthy without going to college, getting in a bunch of debt. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted to become like an investor, a business owner. I read that book, and I decided at that point, I wanted to be, kind of working for myself, business owner, investor. So I stumbled across a real estate investment club, New Wealth Advisors, and I got started when I was 17. I was still in high school when I met the investors, when I joined the real estate investment club, and it took me a little while because that was 13 years ago. Okay. I didn't have any real estate experience. My parents, they're traditional workers. We wouldn't talk about finances, we wouldn't talk about credit, we wouldn't talk about buying assets. So it was all new verbiage to me, and it took me a little couple years. By the time I was 20, that's the first year I made six figures in the business.
That's young, man.
Yeah, being 20 years old, I thought I made it in life, and I was dude, when can I retire? And then we honestly, bro, we live in California. We need to make a couple of six figures to have a really good lifestyle, So, and funny story, I was still living at home making that kind of money.
That's
still
a lot
with my
of money
parents.
for a 20-year-old dude to be making six figures. Well,
it was 100 and some change.
How did you make money as a 20-year-old? Not as a 20-year-old, but how were you making money back then?
It was wholesaling. Yeah, so I kind of got started wholesaling first, and then I decided I got to a position where I could buy like my own house.
Right.
So I was looking in very specific areas like Temecula, Murrieta, and I was looking for like off-market properties. At that time, there wasn't real opportunity. So I stumbled across a for sale by owner that was in Menifee. At that time, it was 2014, 2015. I didn't know anything about like Menifee.
Roughly 10 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about like Menifee.
And Menifee was probably nothing.
It was
back
like
then.
nothing, dude.
Yeah.
So I remember I went to go see this for sale by owner, and it was like a new development, gated community, has water slides, park, lake, all this stuff, and I was like, wow, like this is really nice, and it's only 15 minutes from Temecula, Murrieta. Like I'm gonna make it happen. So
yeah,
I ended up buying that for sale by owner. But if I go back a little bit, I got my real estate license because I started looking for Murrieta, Temecula houses, and I was like, there's nothing off market, so I'm just gonna save on realtor commissions and save 15 grand.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my license and buy like a traditional, like property that's on the market.
Right.
But I stumbled across a for sale by owner, made that happen, and yeah, that's a little bit of my story. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I want to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
As a 20-year-old wholesaling, I mean, wholesaling's it's a bigger deal than people think. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
How did you wholesale? How did you get your properties? Because obtaining properties is really difficult.
For sure. Yeah. So something that the Real Estate Investment Club has always taught is honestly door knocking. Like door knocking. So we're still big on we're still big on door knocking, like notice of defaults, right? So people that are behind minimum of 3 months on their mortgage, notice of trustee sales where their house is actually going to sell at has an auction date,
yeah.
right? Another thing, my first wholesale came from a bandit sign. Okay, so you guys see those ugly signs. Back then, I used to put a lot of them. Like I was the one that was putting up the "We Buy Houses" signs.
Yeah.
And the first transaction that I did was in Lake Elsinore. Partnered up with another investor. I needed that kind of experience, credibility, but I made 10 grand on my first wholesale. And after that, I was kind of hooked, It was like, okay,
sure.
Now it's time to just kind of do it again and do it again.
Wow. And then obviously, wholesaling, you built your buyer's list, and then you kept getting more and more, and you just kept putting in the same kind of work.
Yep.
Essentially, sounds like it worked out for you. When did you get out of wholesaling? Or are you still in it?
I don't do wholesaling too much. Once I got my real estate license, wholesaling is kind of similar to being licensed in a sense. So I either go and when I meet with homeowners, like if it's going to be a listing, I'll just take it as a listing. If it needs a lot of work, I'm more than likely going to try to acquire that property and then look to flip it.
Got it. So is that what you're doing now, basically?
Yep.
Yeah,
so that's pretty much my business model now, and I'm really thinking of kind of long term, also like more passive, looking to build.
You're keeping these properties now, so I mean, how are you generating business right now? Or I mean, I know you've been in the business a while, but how are you? Is there any special way you're generating? Is it just by word of mouth or?
For the retail side, like the traditional
real estate, I guess.
Real estate, yeah, it's a lot of referrals. I do spend quite a bit of money on marketing, just like a direct mailer that I do. Starting to do more on like Google, started promoting on Google and all of that. On the investing side, I'm still really in the weeds with the Real Estate Investment Club. I'm part of the leadership team. Okay. So it's a pretty big operation where we still teach people how to have conversations with homeowners, how to structure these deals. So a lot of times they're going to go off and find a homeowner that needs help and say, hey, Christian, I need help closing this transaction, or I need help with the strategy here. Can we partner up on it? Right. And our mentality is absolutely like, let's show you what we're doing.
Let's talk a little bit about this Real Estate Investment Club.
Sure.
What is it all about? Like, where is it started? And what do you guys kind of teach people?
So founders, David Molina, they started in Riverside, and they really started just because they saw they saw what happened when the market crashed, kind of like myself, but they saw there was going to be a lot of short sales. There's going to be a lot of loan modifications, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they started going to a bunch of seminars and spending honestly like a crap ton of money on those events where you like go and they get you excited, and then they're like, hey, if you really want mentorship, it's 50 grand, you know,
which is unaffordable.
Yeah,
basically.
But they had credit cards. They were like the ones that were swiping credit cards, spending a bunch of money on education.
Talking about the founders?
Yeah, the founders,
Oh,
Dave
wow.
and Melina. Yeah, spent a crap ton of money on education, and they came across a deal, and they brought it over to an investor that they had already known. So they closed that transaction. It was in Ontario. They made like 83 grand on that first transaction. And for them, it was like, dude, this isn't about just spending a bunch of money on education. It's actually about people and the relationships and the community. Like, hey, what contract do I use? What title officer? What escrow officer? What contract, you know, for this type of situation? Mm-hmm. So that's when the light bulb went off for them. And then they started a little real estate investment club, started growing it. This last year, we moved to Irvine, so we're here in...
Okay, cool. My area.
Yeah, we're here in your area. And then there's an office in Seattle, if any of you guys are familiar with, like, the Bellevue area. So we have an office in Seattle, Florida, and then in Hawaii as well, Oahu area. So,
yeah.
Yep.
So you guys are, I mean, talk a little bit more about it, because I know we were just talking a little bit outside about it. You kind of you mentor people in real estate. Who is the perfect person that would want to get into this
So
group?
a lot of the people that reach out to us are honestly people that have gone through a lot of like seminars, a lot of training, and it's like, hey, I'm kind of stuck because I can't learn just being on Zoom, or I can't learn by going to a 3-day event. Right. I need to have hands-on experience. Mm-hmm. So that's one of them. The other one is we have a lot of people that do well, you know, maybe in software, maybe nurses, and they're like, hey, I'm just kind of getting burnt out of my job, and I want to flip, or I want to buy rental properties, so I want to really get into this business. Yeah. So our approach is, it could be like, hey, Andrew, like, you're looking to get into this business, but we know that we need to train you, we need to show you the processes of even how to make an offer on a property, how to make sure it makes sense, like what's the ARV, right? What's the after repair value? How much is construction going to be? Break it down like to our offer, to our strike price, right? Like you have to understand that. Once you have that, once we have a conversation with the homeowner, with the seller, let's, you know, do that deal together. Let's joint venture. You don't have to have the capital. We have private money. We have hard money. We have investors where they like to self-direct IRAs and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. So for people, it's kind of like a no-brainer where they're like, dang, I don't have to have the money. I can get someone with experience to joint venture on, and like I'm gonna have an actual physical office that I can work with people.
So then what are they bringing to the table then? If they don't bring in the money, what are they bringing in?
Yeah, so they're bringing in the sweat equity. They're we teach them
how to
door knock, how to market, all that stuff, right? Okay, so they're putting in some sweat equity, and we're the ones that have a lot of the experience, the capital. You know, we know, hey, Andrew, you might need help with like 1, 2, 3 deals, but then our goal is for you to branch off and like be a full-time investor.
That's funny because I need help. I need help with the opposite. I need help finding the properties because I'm looking at properties, and you know, here in California, and my issue with California in terms of the flipping business is the margins and the lack thereof. The prices are just too high here. Yeah. Like, what can I do? What have you found?
Looking I'm on market?
Well, first of all, I'm working with some. The problem is, I love you wholesalers out there. I got a lot of wholesalers I'm working with, and I'm looking at my numbers, and they're not there. They're marking these up, but if I do and they're like, oh, if you put in an ADU, I was like, dude, that's going to be a ton of work. I'm not looking to do an ADU, but I am looking to do even a major cosmetic repair or like a major rehab I'm okay with. But then you guys just jacked up the price. And then the labor costs here in California. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I'm doing properties. I'm, working on properties in other states, kind of basically out in the Midwest. Okay. And for some reason, I'm able to, and I don't know, and I'm pretty sure it's the labor costs. I'm doing a whole 1,700 square foot house, and I'm doing it for 35 grand.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm talking about, I'm doing
New kitchen, no, bathrooms,
kitchen, two bedroom, two
flooring.
kitchen, flooring, two bathrooms, flooring, the outside and a little bit of landscape, painting.
Yeah.
How the hell am I getting this done?
Are you gonna flip that, or are you gonna keep it as a rental?
I'm gonna keep them long term because after I renovate these properties, you get them for like, I'm getting them for like probably 60 to 70,000. I'm putting in 30, 35. They're worth about 160, 170.
Oh, nice.
So then I can get,
have some built-in equity.
I could get some built-in equity. I could do what's called a DSCR loan.
Yeah. So you're gonna burr it.
Well, I'm actually gonna keep it long term. I'm actually just gonna kind of take my equity out. Exactly. Burr. But you're actually able to do it over there, and on top of that, they would cash flow. So that's another issue that I'm having.
What's rent roll over there?
I'm talking about probably 13 to 1400.
Okay, so you're over like the 1% rule. Already.
Yeah. Because I'm only 110 into it, and I'm at 1400.
That's solid.
But that's why. Solid. But Ohio's like that.
Yeah.
Indiana, some parts of Tennessee.
Yeah.
Pretty much most of the Midwest. Obviously, things are much cheaper. Michigan, if you get North Michigan, you can get into those areas too. That's what I found. But I want to get into California for flipping. And my big issue is I have the lead flow, and it's just the lead flow. And then when I do the numbers, the calculations just don't. So that same 17 square foot house is like 85,000 or 90,000. Like it's like
minimum. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So
minimum.
It's like and then on top of that, I got my selling cost about 25, 30. So I'm at like 125 or something like that.
Yeah.
And now, and I'm making like 25 grand or 30 grand because and then some of these wholesalers, I don't know if you're familiar with double closes. You know the double closes?
They're not too like sought after out here in California though.
Well, that's what wholesalers are doing. That's what I'm noticing. There's some big wholesale companies here out in California
where they're closing and then
they're doing double closes to pretty much hide their wholesale fee. I was working so I do hard money loans too.
Okay.
So I was working with not a wholesaler. I was working with a client that was going through a wholesaler. This property was in the Los Angeles area, kind of more South LA, I guess you could say. And we got the wrong HUD. They were doing a double close. So on a double close, you basically, for you guys that don't know, you close on a transaction. The very next day, the actual end buyer closes on the transaction. So a wholesaler is somebody who essentially sells a contract.
Yeah.
And we found out that wholesaler was selling to my end buyer for $140,000 markup.
Wow.
He pretty much blew up, and he just canceled the whole transaction. I don't mind the wholesaler making money. I've talked to some other, and he's like, "Oh, why do you care? If you're gonna make money, why do you care?" It's just the optics, man. And that's why you do the double close. It's the optics. It's like, dude, I'm losing 140 grand working with you. That's kind of how it is. Basically, long story short, what my investor felt like was that you didn't provide enough value to warrant $140,000.
Yeah.
He was willing to pay. It wasn't that. It was just. So anyway, that deal blew the deal up. So anyway, after that big rant right there, my question to you is like, I know you talked a little bit about it, but man, I'm looking for property.
Yeah.
Christian, how can I find a property?
So I agree with you 1,000%. Like a wholesaler's job is they have a buyer's list and they want to make a nice assignment fee, right?
Right.
So if I reach out to you and I reach out to X, Y, and Z buyer and I can make an extra 10 grand over here, more than likely gonna go with an extra 10 grand, right? Like that's a problem. I, again, don't do too many wholesales just because wholesalers, they seem to kind of inflate the ARV and then underestimate the rehab, right? Like paint and carpet. And we know it's not that. So like 99% of our acquisitions are direct to seller leads. Like that's pretty much bottom line the best way to get transactions. So that's where it goes back to like still guerrilla marketing, talking to homeowners face to face, like the notice of defaults, notice of trustee sales, tax defaults, absentee homeowners, probate, divorce. I bought a property in Garden Grove. What was it? A little over a year ago. I bought it for $525. The house is worth right now $850.
How big was it?
So it's small, like 1,200 square feet. Yeah, but that was again direct to seller. It was a code enforcement violation. It's kind of a.
So how did you find that? Yeah, how do I find a
That
code
was-
enforcement? Do I just go on the website? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that was from again going back to the real estate investment club. It was like a referral that was to someone that was a part of our real estate investment club, and then they brought it over to me. So I paid her a wholesale fee out of it. We were gonna flip it originally, and this is when the market turned. What was it? The end of 2022, like quarter 4, when rates just went crazy.
Yeah.
That's when I decided, dude, I spent so much time on that project. We went through the permitting process to add square footage. It was a 3-1. Wanted to give a new buyer like a full bathroom and master bathroom and stuff. So
Creating a 3-2?
yeah, creating a 3-2, and it was a code enforcement violation. So I wanted to make sure I went through the permitting process and all that stuff, but it costs a lot of time. So at the end of it, I was gonna make like 30 grand, and I was like, dude, like it doesn't make sense. I'm gonna
It's
play
not
this
that
more.
much for like what, 6 months? How long did it take you?
It was like an 8-month.
Oh,
Yeah,
8
like
month.
8-month project. So I was like, I'm not gonna sell it right now. I see kind of the opportunity in Garden Grove, and it's a nice lot where in the future I want to build like a ground up ADU in the back. And then I see that, for those of you guys that don't know, Garden Grove approved Nickelodeon Hotel, which is like
Oh yeah, I heard
really
about that.
close by to like walking distance to that property. So I know that area is gonna go up, you know.
Yeah.
And I saw, what was it, Anaheim or Disneyland just approved 1.9 billion to
Oh, I didn't see
completely
that.
expand
Expand Disneyland? I think yeah, okay, yeah.
So little things like that, like for me, I look at it as an investor too, long term kind of.
Yeah. So this Nickelodeon, this is probably by the resort area of Anaheim. It's probably connected to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Really
Wow.
close to that Great Wolf Lodge
Uh-huh,
too.
yeah,
Yeah. That
yeah.
area.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So I guess going back, man, it's really, if you want to
Yeah, because I'm looking, man.
do the business, it's gonna be probably doing some sort of like outbound lead generation. If it's a mailer campaign, or if it's, you know, working with people, you know, more on a one-on-one basis where they're not blasting it off to everyone.
Right.
But it's like, hey, maybe we joint venture on this transaction, you know, and structure it that way. But the best way to get deals is always going to be to go direct to the sellers, because now we get rid of realtor fees, we get rid of wholesale fees, we get rid of, you know, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
But
get a bigger margin, of course.
bigger margin.
Yeah,
for
and that's
sure.
what I need in California. But a little bit about this investment, the real
Yeah.
estate investment club. If someone were to join, how many hours a week or would you expect this person to put into this type of?
Yeah, so I always recommend 10 to 15 minimum if you're working like a W-2, like full-time position.
So 2 hours a day.
Yeah, and then it really goes down to like having a business plan that you stick to. I think that's a problem with a lot of times, maybe people that don't operate like a entrepreneur or like a business owner. You know, you're working a W-2, you're getting paid every week, but as a investor, as an entrepreneur, you're kind of working on faith, you know, when you're getting started in this business.
Right.
So the first week, if you put in 10 hours, you're going to be like, okay, that's fine. Then the second week, another 10 hours. Okay, that's fine. You still don't have a deal. Another 10 hours. Okay, still nothing. Another 10 hours. That's 40 hours, right? Like a lot of people tend to just get discouraged at that point. But this is a long-term based business. Like that is just going through the trial and error.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, like, don't expect anything within 3 months. Once you start gaining a little bit of momentum, you're going to start seeing results. And then our goal is to hopefully, if you want to transition out of whatever position you're doing or W-2, we can do that, but it's going to take some time. So it goes back to even like if 2 hours a day, maybe on Monday when you're off of work, you're going to pull a list of notice of defaults, right? Pull a list, and then maybe on Tuesday, you're going to go door knock them, right? You're going to actually go talk to the homeowners face to face. Then the people on Wednesday that you don't talk to, maybe you're going to skip trace them, and you're going to pick up the phone and you're going to give them a call, right? Like little things like that are going to start adding some momentum, and then have a good CRM in place so you know how to follow up and do all that fun stuff.
No, 2 hours a day is very doable, but it's a lot of work.
For
And
sure.
it's a lot more work than people think it is. And you're right. I do think that people get discouraged, especially when they're working a salary job where, like, dude, you're on a routine and you're essentially, you guys got to focus on breaking that routine in terms of, like, I work 8 to 5, I get home, you're going to have to work again.
Right.
Or I got my kids, I
Yeah.
got to go to soccer practice, I got to
Yeah.
yada, yada,
Yeah.
yada.
Yeah.
You're going to have to, it is a commitment. And just talking to
Yeah.
you right now, you made me notice how much of a commitment that it really is.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone yesterday, and I thought it was really cool the way he worded it, because I asked him, like, very successful real estate investor, and I said, hey dude, like, how was it when you were younger, you had younger kids, because his kids are like 18 now, and I said, how did you kind of manage that? Because right now my kids are 10 and 8, and my son plays travel ball baseball, and I love to be there, you know, all the different stuff. And he just told me something super simple, but I think it's a good reminder for all of us. There's just seasons in life, right? And there's specific seasons where you have to go a little harder, and specific seasons where you can, you know, kind of lay off the gas pedal a little bit more. And he's like, have that conversation. He's like, I would have the conversation with my wife and say, hey, this is just a season that we're in. You know, are we part of, like, are we on the same game plan? Yes, we are. Cool. Like, let's approach it then,
I like that,
you
man.
know? So
I like that a lot.
I think it's a good reminder. So for anyone that's gonna be maybe getting into real estate, or wants to get into real estate, or wants to buy their first investment property, just know, like, think of it like a season. Like 6 months, it's not 90 years, but it's gonna be a season that you kind of have to sacrifice a little bit.
It just reminds me of a conversation that I'm always having, and even I talk to my wife about it, but my season's going to probably be the next 25 years. So I'm always focused on retirement, and I'm just trying to retire. And you said take your pedal off. I'm really trying to take my pedal off the gas, but I know that I got a freaking long way to go, especially living here. Yeah. Like we just talked about earlier, living in Southern California, I need to make quite a bit of money. So I don't know, man. My season, I think, is going to last a long time, but I know what you're talking about. You're talking about, like, you know, actual seasons, so to speak, and
let me
especially
ask you real
in
quick,
this business. Yeah.
Have you ever, talking about California, like, I love it, the weather is amazing, and all that stuff. Have you and your wife ever thought about, hey, screw it, let's get out of here, let's sell everything, and you know, move out of state?
I'd love to talk about this, actually. So, well, first of all, I have this business. I've been living, obviously I've lived in Southern California. I was born and raised here. Yeah, I have thought about moving out of state, and I talk about it all the time, actually. It's just really difficult to go out of state. Number one, I would say friends and family. Sure. So pretty much you're going alone, unless you could drag somebody with you. We do have my brother-in-law left, and it's actually my wife's family. My wife has family that have kind of left. And I just feel like anybody who's left, not just them, but anybody
they want to come back.
They not only do they want to come back, but they're leaving because of financial reasons, and that's what they say. Financial, maybe a little bit political reasons, but I would say it's mostly financial. And that, I did think about that. Like, I don't have to make X amount of dollars if I move to. I've been thinking a lot about Florida. Yeah. So Florida's kind of, maybe I'll retire there. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'd love to retire in Laguna Beach, but I was with one of my best realtors out there, and I was doing we were helping her with some film and photography anyway, and some drone footage for her in Laguna Beach. I would love to retire in this condo. It's a 2-bedroom condo. If you guys follow me on social media, I posted it. It's a 2-bedroom condo in Laguna Beach. It's $2.7 million.
Oh my gosh.
It's 1,000 square feet. It's not, the condo's not that nice, but the view's amazing. The location's amazing. I'd love to retire there, but how realistic is it? What do I have to do for the next, I was just talking about 20 to 25 years. That's my goal, my dream. But I hate to say it, but unfortunately, sometimes you don't realize those dreams. And those dreams are so, aspirational, you just don't ever get to that point. But that same property in, Panama City, Florida, or maybe I really like Fort Lauderdale, or like I forget what it's called, but just north of Fort Lauderdale, a lot of like older people. So in 25 years, when I'm, older, maybe I can retire there, and I'm buying a home, not for 2.7, but I get something as beautiful. And I don't mind the weather out there. I don't mind a lot of people, the humidity, the weather, the hurricanes.
Yeah.
Okay, man. I just can't, like, there's also like 25 million people who live there.
Yeah.
And they seem to be just fine.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I could probably get someplace probably just as beautiful with more weather that's a little bit warm. I like the warmer. It's actually, people don't realize it's actually pretty cold out here.
Yeah.
It's most of the year. Yeah. So, probably early millions, I can get a beautiful condo, same thing. That condo in Laguna is a $1,500 HOA.
Yeah.
So if you guys, and by the way, it got into escrow within a week. It's all cash. So people have money. Yeah. Oh, and they have a backup offer, I believe. It might be all cash as well. That's even higher.
Yeah.
So the money, I don't know where people are getting this money, by the way. Yeah. Supposedly the economy's in shambles and we're going down the drain, and then you got people buying $3 million condos cash.
For sure.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know where the money's coming from. But in terms of moving out of state, for sure have thought about it. The problem is I've really like poured my like soul, I guess, into like my mortgage business. Sure. And mortgage is a business. You can definitely do it, like not being there, but I'm like, I go out and I do see my agents, and I do know most of, actually pretty much the people that send me business, or the people, my real estate agents that refer me business, I've probably met every single one of them. So there is a personal relationship to my business. You know that. You work with lenders all the time. And I don't know how many of them you know on a personal level, but I know my realtors. Yeah, so it's like, if I move, I think they would still use me, but I don't know. I just feel like things would start changing a little bit. And then I would also probably try to open up wherever I move to. Yeah. Like I would try to develop the relationships in my community as well. So, but yeah, we've definitely thought about moving. And it essentially is for financial reasons. Yeah. Here you got to make, like if I lived in Texas, I could make probably 30 to 40% of what I need to make here, and probably live the same type of lifestyle. Yeah. And you probably are all over Instagram with the Texas homes, and people are showing these giant homes, and like, I'm sure these are out in the boonies. Ain't nobody buying a $300,000 house that's 4,000 square feet.
On an acre.
Yeah, no, Dallas doesn't even have homes like that. Yeah. My buddy lives in Dallas. His home is probably worth like $400,000, but it's like a 2,000 square foot home or something like not these crazy Instagram homes. Yeah. But yeah, what about you, man? Have you thought about getting the hell out of here? But the thing is, the people here in Orange County, they move to Menifee or Marietta. Yeah. Or and that's actually, for sure. Actually, sorry, just to come back to that, that's actually, and somebody was asking me, I really don't like that. I like every borrower that I get, I would say at least half we're already thinking about that are from Anaheim, Garden Grove, pretty much Orange County. Hey, what about Lake Elsinore? What about Paris? Yeah. What if I move to Menifee or Marietta? I was like, let's go out there. Sure. Yeah. Problem is the jobs are in Orange County.
Yeah, or San Diego.
Or San Diego I would want to be probably in Temecula. Even Temecula is a deep drive. Yeah. You can't, doing that every day is tough, and people don't realize that. It's doable on the weekends. I know you guys, but you go on the weekends. You're not doing that like daily going to work. But anyway, I guess, two things for you, since we kind of got on this subject. I mean, I guess, what do you think about all these people from Orange County moving to your area? How many have you seen? And then in terms of you and your family, what about you guys moving out of state and all that?
For sure. Yeah. So I think it's always just being in the business. You probably have the days where you get overwhelmed and you're just like, oh my gosh, like what if we just kind of like move? But when you break it down, it's kind of like what you're saying, family and our lifestyle here, everything is awesome, right? So I think we have the mentality right now where we want to have a life where work hard at the business, but then maybe like live abroad for like a month out of the year or something.
Yeah.
This is the first year. My wife and I were going to Italy for a couple weeks in
Nice.
July, so we're excited
With or
about
without
that.
the kids?
Without the kids.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, hell yeah.
So it's gonna be cool. But little things like that, like we're big into quality time and spending time with the family. I remember right before COVID, we went to Nashville, and I loved like the people out there in Nashville. Like
Yeah.
the vibe out there was really cool. So that was a thought process, but not really where it's like too serious. Just like
Yeah, just
kind of an idea.
Back of your head type of thing.
Yeah. And then in regards to people moving, like no, I'm seeing that a lot because people can sell their house for $1 million, or let's say in Anaheim, and buy something cash in Temecula, buy something cash in Menifee, buy something cash in Marietta, or have a really small mortgage, right? So we're seeing that a lot. For any of your listeners, there's a really cool site. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's How Money Walks, right? How Money Walks. And basically it takes people's tax returns and where they initially filed and now where they're filing. So you can see how money's moving. Yeah, so there is like statistics that a lot of money is moving from Orange County to Riverside County. A lot of money, even during like COVID time, right? A lot of money was moving from LA to like other states, like Florida, like Tennessee, like Texas, right? So if you ever like want to nerd out on something like that, how many walks?
That's cool.
Is,
I'm gonna check that out.
It's pretty cool.
I like that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like I was just talking to you, it's crazy how many people that I talk to. I feel like it's like a person a day that talks about moving out of state or moving out of the area, especially just here in Orange County. I know we have really good jobs here. I tell people we're big in finance, we're big in tech here in Orange County, but the problem is jobs are paying 80, 90,000 a year, even 100,000 a year.
Sure.
It's tough. It's crazy making 100,000, but making 100,000 in Menifee is very doable.
Sure.
But making 100,000 in like Irvine is not that easy, unfortunately.
Right.
You'd probably get a condo or something, or you'd be renting.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad living, man. I mean, I guess I get it. 6 figures isn't what it used to be, but it's definitely, dude, you have a great job.
Yeah.
It's a good living. So I guess for those of you who don't even make that much, it's okay. It's still a great living. It's just crazy. It's honestly not realistic, to be honest. So but
talking about a little bit of the investment, it reminds me of a property I bought subject to. So I know subject to is a big kind of strategy right now. And the sellers that I purchased that property from, subject to, they moved to Texas. So they relocated. That was a cool story. I own a couple subject twos. And for maybe some of your listeners that don't know, you basically keep the mortgage in the seller's name, but you take over the deed. So whoever owns the deed in real estate owns a property. So in that particular case, that one I acquired in Menifee. And
where you located, subject to is different than wholesaling, so or did you get it the same way?
No, so that was a referral brought to me. Sellers were moving to Texas. They had this rental property, and they were planning on living in it for a couple of weeks while they relocate to Texas. So they go into the property. Their tenants had just moved out. They're going to live in it for a couple weeks, and tenants left it in like crappy condition, holes in the drywall, paint's all gross, carpet's all nasty, landscaping is all shot. They're just like, dude, we can't live in this house. Like, we're just going to stay in a hotel for a couple weeks while we relocated to Texas. So they hit me up and they say, hey, Christian, we need to get rid of this property. Like, what are our options? And in that time, the market, just to give you some numbers, they owed $385. Okay. The market was worth like $440, like in a really good condition. So I went over a couple options. I said, option number one is we do a fire sale. Somebody's gonna have to come in, buy it, probably put 25 grand into it, but we list it for 400 grand. You're probably gonna lose some money, like 8,000, closing costs, realtor fees, all that stuff. That's option number one. Option number two is you guys put some money into it. Like, I have a good handyman, I have a good contractor. You guys put 20 into it. You guys can now make probably 20 grand. Or option number three is...
But you just spent 20 grand
to
make the 20 grand.
Yeah. Or option number 3 is I love the Menifee area. I own another rental in Menifee. I'd love to keep this as a rental for me. What I'll do is I'll give you $8,000. I'll give you $8,000, but you're going to keep the mortgage in your name, and I'm going to take over the deed. So whoever owns a deed, again in real estate, owns a property, I'm going to move the property from your name into a trust, and I'm going to become the trustee. That way there isn't any red flags with the lender. That's how we do it, and that's how the club has always taught us how to do it. So they went with like option number 1, we don't want to lose money. Option number 2, our mindset's already in Texas. We don't want to put 20 grand into it. Give us $8,000 and the property's yours. Yeah. So bought that property for $8,000. I loved it because the terms were just like amazing. Of course. It's a 3.125 fixed rate. Yeah, PITI 1760. I rented out for $2,650, so make just under $900. Yeah. Positive cash flow.
And you're managing it.
And I'm managing it.
Because you're right there. Yeah. You're a real estate agent. So
Yep. So it's that's like a win-win kind of transaction.
Yeah, no, I like that story. Anyway, but for those of you guys listening, if you guys are looking for a 2 to 3% interest rate, subject to is what Christian was just talking about. And again, he basically mentioned it. You essentially take over somebody's property and you take over the deed while keeping the mortgage in their name. So you actually Christian is literally logging into their mortgage account and making the payments with his bank account. He just moved the property into a trust. Obviously there's some like things that people should be aware of. And I know that the number one thing that comes up when subject to is the due on sale clause. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to brush up a little bit or talk a little bit about the due on sale clause. And because technically, guys, if you guys move a deed from the seller's or from really anybody's name, from anybody's name into another person's name, and you don't keep that original person on there, then technically the mortgage holder can call the note due. Yeah. So
I've never seen it happen. We've done a lot of them. That's the reason why we move it from a lot of people that kind of teach it. They'll just move it from my name to your name, and then the lender might question it a little bit, like what the heck's going on, right? We have to remember that the bank really cares about getting paid at the end of the day too, like every month. So the reason we move it from let's say your name into a trust is because the lender looks at it like estate planning purpose. Now, and then I'll put basically the street address trust. Oh, okay. Right.
Okay. So I was going to say. I was going to say I was going to ask if you did even like if it was it's Andrew Yanni, I would do the Yanni Christian Trust or something to make it kind of like to make a.
I like doing just street name trust.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I have done subject to as well, like I told you, and I learned from I took Pace Morby's course. Okay. Yeah. So I'm sure you're familiar with Pace. I took his course and I did a subject to, and I'm looking for more.
Did you do it out of state?
I did it out of state. Yeah, I did it out of state. I got it pretty much through Pace's group. Somebody pretty much, threw me the property. I looked at it. I was like, hell yeah, I'll buy it. I'll get, I got a good rate. It also cash flows. Cash flows, and I came in with next to nothing. I did renovate the property. Cost me I put it was like $15,000 on a credit card, but now it's rented out, it makes like $200 a month. Yeah. But I do have about $65,000 in equity. Heck yeah. So, but I like the trust idea. I haven't got it called. Please. Okay. I put it into an LLC. Sure. So I mean, you probably should put it into a trust, and I like your method a little bit better, but I put it into an LLC, and so far so good. Yeah. This lady was like just did a loan mod. She was getting behind on her payment, and then the equity. She did. Oh, and speaking of wholesalers and stuff, I did get it from a wholesaler, and the house was way worse than what. The house was way worse. Yeah. Basically, there were people living in it, but they were like, "Oh, it's move-in ready. It's just paint." They're like, "Oh, it's just paint." Ended up being, it was actually closer to $20,000. Okay. And then once I got in, I had to redo this. I had to get him a new stove because the stove, pretty much the tenant moved in and the stove was shot, and now I had to buy him a new stove. So the property manager that I hired ended up, the girls in here in my office, we searched for property management. Yeah. So we basically called every property management in the area. We found a guy I liked, and anyway, he goes into the property, he calls me, And he's like, hey, man, this property's way worse than you told me that it was going to be. He's like,
Darn.
it smells like ass in here,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
So
Darn.
anyway,
Yeah.
whatever, he fixed it up. But again, kind of going back to, I think we were talking about the costs
yeah.
and stuff like that. It was just way less still than that property. I did floors. I didn't do the kitchen. I did floors in both bathrooms and painted the outside. And just, a new door, new front door. But yeah, and then
So
basically.
when did you start like really investing in real estate?
Recently.
Has it been recent? Yeah.
It's been recent, yeah.
What was that mindset shift for you that kind of happened? Because it seems like even from listening to your podcast, you've always been producing. Like you've always been grind mode, make income mode.
Yeah.
But now it seems like, again, you're thinking of 20 years retirement.
Because I keep telling even the guys here and the loan officers here and you even as a real estate agent, and actually I learned this from Pace, and he keeps saying that you're not in real estate. You're a service provider for people in real estate. I'm a service provider, and I can't get out of the grind unless I own real estate, flipping real estate to burr it, to keep it long. Anyway, keeping it long term.
Sure.
So that's kind of what got me out. I guess maybe listening to Pace. I was into this book as well.
Yeah.
The cash flow quadrant and all that kind of stuff that Robert Kiyosaki talks about with his book. But I would say the last really the last 2 to 3 years, maybe the last 2 years, and now I'm like the last 6 months, I'm really getting into it. I'm in escrow on one property now, again in the Midwest, and trying to get another one. Actually, we're kind of in negotiations today on it, so we'll see what happens. But I just want to focus on one area, and then hopefully my plan is to eventually build a good group of properties and then do what's called, it's like a portfolio loan where I cash out on all of these and then maybe buy some units down here or some like large units.
Sure.
Like I want to get into large multifamily, which large multifamily, a lot of times you need partners and things of that nature because they're so expensive, especially in this area. But
syndications, all that stuff.
Yeah, syndications. But I want to be the actual syndicate. I don't want to be a syndicator, but I want to be
in control.
I want to be in control. So yeah, this is just helping me gain experience and things of that nature. Mindset shift is essentially retirement and realizing how much it costs to retire, and the fact that I'm not going to retire, helping people do mortgages. It's cool. I make a decent living and I'm able to provide and all that stuff, but it's not an end all.
A big eye opener for me, and I think everyone that's listening, it's like just the power of real estate, the power of appreciation. Like if you are a renter, you need to buy like as soon as you can, and connect with Andrew, reach out to me. Would love to strategize, because I know the amount of kind of wealth and net worth that I've been able to accumulate hasn't been from me saving. It's been from like my properties and what the time has done in the market.
And you have a lot of time. You're young, so you got a lot of time.
Yeah.
So, and you're gonna be A-okay, man. You're gonna be retired by 50.
Yeah.
That's my goal too.
Sure.
I'm a little bit older than you, but by the time I'm 50, I hope to. I'm not gonna say retire.
Yeah, but maybe like semi-retired.
Out of grind mode, pretty much, where you're like, because obviously, as a realtor, as a loan officer, mortgage broker, all we're doing, we're chasing deals.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing all day, and I don't want to chase as much as I'm chasing now, and I want to. Obviously, I'm still going to answer my phone, provide good service, things of that nature, but I don't want to chase. I don't want to just like, I just don't want to. Don't want to be in grind mode. I want to work when I want to work, and I want to deny. There's tough deals. So now in my career right now, I'm becoming known as the guy. I take on all the tough deals.
Sure.
I've just been doing this for a long time. I could pretty much get funding I can get you guys funding almost for anything. So I've developed a lot of connections, things of that nature, but they're tougher deals, and they take a lot more of my time and things like that. So I want to, once I'm a little bit older and I don't need to make as much money and I have the side income or I have the rental income, I can just cherry pick the good deals.
For sure.
And maybe I can give some of my guys the harder deals, or say, hey, talk to Johnny over here.
Yeah.
Johnny's works with me and he'll take care of you, but I don't want to deal with the headache of the phone calls and things like that. So that's my goal by 50. And that's kind of my mindset shift, was actually putting that in place. I did put that age there, and I have a bunch of years left, obviously, to get there, thank God. But
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much I want to be able to just kind of enjoy my life, because we live in the United States. I feel like we work to live, I think it's what it's called. Yeah. So I want to, or what is it?
Work to live, not live to
Yeah,
work.
I want to live to work. Or
Work to live, not live to work.
I want to work
Yeah,
to
yeah.
live, not
Yeah.
live to work. So
Yeah.
I just want to be able to live my life a little bit more comfortably and not work the hours that I work now,
Yeah.
and be able to kind of enjoy the fruits of my labor
Yeah.
versus.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to earlier conversation, like
Yeah.
the seasons.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of knowing what season you're in and
And
what season you
it's
want
grind
to go
mode,
into.
baby.
Yeah.
It's grind mode
Yeah.
season. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the
Yeah.
season I'm in now. Well, anyway, one of the last things I wanted to
Sure.
talk about, you have like this big, the big project, the ADU
Oh,
project.
yeah.
Yeah. So I know that you were involved in, we talked about it a little bit, but I don't know if you want to start with talking about that big project that you're
Yeah,
in.
so it's a new project, and I think we're going to start seeing it a lot more, especially in California. A lot of people don't talk about it, but we're starting to train inside of our real estate investment club. For those of you guys that don't know, 2016 senior ADUs became like a thing, and then the end of 2019 junior ADUs became a thing, right, in California. So we're just playing in like the state's kind of laws right now.
Do you know what are for those people? What is a senior and a junior ADU?
Yeah. So a senior ADU is, gosh, you put me on the spot. What, attached dwelling unit, right?
No, it's an attached dwelling unit, but is
Right.
there like a size specification that makes it a senior, and what makes it a junior? That's what I meant by that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So if I can just maybe explain like the project we're doing,
All right, go ahead,
just
go
so
ahead.
it's simple. We bought an on-market property, which is like crazy to me, right? Like this is where you're talking about
Trying to find good deals.
trying to find the good deals. Like you
Yeah.
can literally do this strategy and then really burr it. So we're gonna burr this property. I don't know if you've ever talked about burr on different episodes, but for those of you guys that don't know, burr is really like, it's an investor term where you buy it, you renovate it, you rent it out, and then you refinance it. So you can kind of do it over and over and over again and getting some of your capital back. So in this property, we bought it. It was on the market for $420 in Hemet, and it was just a traditional single family unit, but they have to be very specific kind of layouts for what we're looking for. So between the 1,600 to like 1,800 square foot house, a lot of times we don't really use like the formal living room, formal dining room in an area. So what we're doing is we're soundproofing that area and turning that into a JADU, so a junior ADU, where it's going to be a 1-bedroom studio. So that is where, like, I'm pretty sure it has
Separate entrance?
separate entrance, permitting, everything. So the junior has to be smaller, obviously, than the senior, and I think it can only be like a 1-bedroom. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on it, but it's a 1-bedroom studio right there, and then it has a 3-car garage, which is going to be a 2-bedroom senior ADU, a 2-bedroom studio, right? So what we would have rented a house for in Hemet, probably about $2,600, we're now going to be under like $6,000 with having 3 units, right? So being
This is all legal though?
This is all legal,
it's all permitted?
yeah, all permitted. And we're just playing in California's rules because we have such a housing shortage, right? So there's a couple things that we have to do and play by the rules and everything like that. But in essence, we bought it for $420. We're putting about $150 into it, so we're gonna be under that 600,000 mark, and we're gonna be right around that 1% in rent roll. So it's a way to cash flow in California using this strategy, and we're gonna leave. I partnered up with some of my business partners. We're both gonna leave about 50 to 60,000 each into the project once it's all said and done. So about 120 stays there, but we're gonna be cash flowing about 1,500 total, which is pretty solid again in California. So this is gonna be kind of a new strategy. Yeah, in this market right now. What's gonna happen
with the high
2
rates,
years when we can refi, and in 1 year when we can get a 5% rate, where we could get a 4% rate. It's like, it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. So that's your Well, but my only drawback to that project is that you are getting rid of the living room and you're getting rid of the. Is that what you said? You're getting rid of.
Yeah, so there's still gonna be no, there's still gonna
the
be
space.
a living room. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
for the main house.
Oh, okay. At least they
Yeah,
have something.
yeah,
I was like,
because
you got rid of their whole
no,
house.
you know how a lot of times it's like the formal living room and the formal dining
Oh,
room.
it's a bigger home.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and not even that much bigger. I'll have to show you guys. If any of you guys are on social media, I have a couple videos where I explain it and give you like a whole property tour of it. That way you can get a good idea.
You could do it with the. I get it. So it's a. I was thinking these small single story. This is a larger
No,
home.
yeah, it's double story. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
2-story.
Yeah, you could do. Now I could kind of see.
Yeah, it's legit. So the main house is going to be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, living room, laundry room, kitchen, all that stuff. The junior is going to have laundry room, full bathroom, full bedroom, and then the JDU same thing, laundry room, bathroom.
Space for all of that.
2 bedrooms.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, actually, then you made it. No, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Made it sound way better at
Yeah,
that point. But
yeah.
so that works out.
Yeah.
No, that sounds like that's a great project, and that's again, guys, that's a good way to cash flow in the state of California where they're expensive, and then rent is just. I know people complain about how rent's really high, but it's actually not that high in comparison to the prices of the homes.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
So this is a great way for all you investors out there, obviously, to cash flow.
Yep.
He's subdividing the property into 3 essentially.
Yeah.
They are losing a garage, right?
Yep.
They are losing the garage, but you do have the driveway space. And if you have like a big, like wide streets, I would assume they're wide streets. Is
No
probably,
HOA is kind of one of the things because HOAs are sticklers for parking on the street and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like the main house will get two parking spots on the driveway. The senior will get 1 spot on the driveway, and then the J is going to be on the street, 1 assigned spot on the street. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool project. Last kind of thing I wanted to end it out with is talking a little bit about Menifee.
Sure.
And talking a little bit about that area and how it's grown over the course of the time that you've been there. It's a new, and I was telling you before, so I grew up in Chino Hills, and that whole area, Murrieta more so than Menifee, reminds me of how Chino Hills was. My family, we moved out there in the early 90s. Dude, it was, there was nothing.
Yeah.
I was also like 5, but like, you know, but there was nothing there. Like we moved maybe in like 92. I was like probably like 5 years old or something like that. But obviously it was like farm town and nothing there. And now there's literally people from Chino Hills where it's too expensive there that are moving out to Menifee and Murrieta. Because now Chino Hills is, again, Chino Hills is almost Orange County prices.
Yeah.
A little bit less, but, just quite there. But anyway, just tell us a little bit about how Menifee has grown and Murrieta and that whole area.
It's booming. Last year it was top California, like fastest growing city. I think top 10 boom town nationwide. So it's on the map right now. 2020, we got our own police, like Menifee PD. So that's a big deal. 2 weeks ago, I just went through a whole course that the Menifee puts for real estate professionals, which is kind of cool. So I became like a Menifee master real estate professional, and they they educate us on what they're going to be developing, the utilities, the school districts, all that stuff. So it gave me a lot of valuable information just so I can relay it to my clients, because that's where I do a lot of business there in Menifee. But good people, a lot of military oriented community too, because San Diego, a lot of people commute from from base in San Diego and all that. A lot of people a lot of people still from San Diego commute to Menifee. They're putting a lot of new parks, a lot of new pickleball courts. Pickleball's
That's
huge,
big
man.
over there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pickleball's going nuts.
Have you played it yet?
My brother's obsessed.
Okay.
He wants me to play. I've literally haven't played once, but
that's funny. So a lot of parks and building new bridges, all this stuff. So they're really developing Menifee. So
there's a lot of home builders down there.
Home builders, yeah.
So I guess people looking for new homes. I guess that's not a bad place to look. How are the school districts and things like that down there? Are they okay? Or are they kind of
really? Yeah. So really good. Menifee, Unified, it's strictly for the elementary right now. So they haven't grown into middle and high school yet. So we're still like for high school, it's Paris Unified, but they're in Menifee, so they're kind of overseeing that. But Paloma, for example, their baseball program, they're kind of on the map right now. They went 27-2, like was their record for baseball. They made it to CIF, which is pretty cool. They lost in the playoffs, but it's cool to see like talent is coming and schools are growing and crime rate going down because of Menifee PD. A lot of new restaurants are coming. They're building a amphitheater,
like an outdoor concert area.
So
basically.
They want to start having concerts out there. New City Hall just is almost done, but it's getting developed. So there's a lot of growing that Menifee's doing, and it seems like the city planning department is doing it with the right intentions.
No, that's awesome, and you're basically now a professional Menifee
master.
Professional Menifee master, man. Yeah, that city is just like I said, it's growing. So I wanted to
for sure
talk a little bit about it. So I appreciate that. And I know you last thing you brushed up a little bit about it, but what do most people do? You're saying in Menifee, like for a living. What's like the main? Are people still commuting in Orange County because it's far?
Yeah. So
or are they going to kind of more to
Yeah, no, I think COVID changed a lot where people are kind of half remote and then half going into the office. So I see that a lot with like my clients and just friends and people I know.
Hybrid work.
Yeah, a little bit of hybrid work, which makes sense. And I think we saw that, even during COVID, LA, people are done living in an apartment where they're like, hey, I want to have a house with a backyard and a pool and a home office, all that. Like, so that's one of the key features. But I'm seeing that kind of hybrid work, full-time work at home. And then, still a lot of people that commute to San Diego. And one thing is traffic-wise from Temecula, kind of towards the Menifee area, it's still not solid. So people are definitely, dealing with that. Just like on the way back from Orange County to, Menifee, you kind of have to hop on the toll roads, and toll roads are not cheap too, I
already know they're pretty much $7 because I take them $7, that's $14 back and forth.
This morning it was pretty pricey. I'm gonna have to have you Venmo me or something. I'm just kidding.
I got you, man. Don't worry, man.
I'm joking.
I got you. But anyway, man, thank you so much. That was pretty much.
This was awesome.
Yeah. So I had a fun time talking to you. For you guys out there, if you guys are watching on YouTube, I'm gonna put Christian's Instagram handle in the description. If you're whatever platform you're watching, I'll be tagging you, so anybody could reach out to you, and then you guys could find that project that he was talking about, and look for that video. With that, you have that junior ADU and the senior ADU. So I'm looking forward to checking that out too. But again, man, thank you for coming, and man, appreciate your time.
Thank you guys. Thank you.